Hello, everyone. I'm Plasmor, as you like to call me, that guy with the Afro. This is just a random thoughts video. This is not me trying to get any kind of situational point across. Usually I have something in mind I would be talking about. Actually, I have three things that are on my mind right now that I would talk about, but not right now specifically. This is just me talking normally about my day in the universe. Maybe it has some kind of theme going on. Maybe it doesn't. You never know. But this is also a chance for you to respond more directly toward what I'm thinking or what I'm saying, whatever the heck have you. This isn't the attack me kind of video. I'm actually planning that sometime in the near future where everyone who has a problem with me can actually talk to me directly and go after me. But now is not the time. And oh boy, sometimes I wish I actually had time to make a planned video because, again, our favorite annoyingly stupid idea of thinking that everything is fine when it's racist, VTuber Silverville said he has done something again that I can confirm is an idiotic move. Now, this might not be her directly, but she has the direct say over this. I want to get off this subject again because if I were here actually talking about it, it would take me about 15 minutes of a 30-minute time slot. I don't have time for that, and I don't think you want to hear that right now anyway. But all I got to say is, yes, some of my suspicions have been confirmed over the last 24 hours. And it looks like she's not doing any much better than she was a month ago. Let me explain. What I've heard, borderlines on the worst case scenario. I want to get off of that because if I stay on this, be here all day, move along. The next thing that's on my mind is something a little bit more important, to say the least, and that's the Hurricane Hana, I believe. Is it a hurricane or a tropical storm? Well, yeah, it's going to hit South Texas, and now I told this story a few times. I'm going to tell it again here. When it comes to hurricanes, I'm not particularly uberly worried about them here in San Antonio. We're so far inland that even if it were to hit kind of directly, it isn't going to pack the punch that it would, say, in Houston. And I've told this story a few times. I'm going to go ahead and say it on where it can be seen by the rest of the universe. I was in Houston, still living there with my family during Hurricane Ike. I keep remember telling my dad, you know what? That storm isn't going to be a category 3. Everyone was predicting it was going to be a 3. Everyone was saying it was going to be a 3. But the barometric pressure never went down. It always seemed to stay the same. The storm got bigger in terms of area, but it never got stronger in terms of power. And I thought, no, this thing's coming in as a 2. It's still a hurricane. Make no mistake. It's coming in as a 2, but it isn't as powerful as it could have been. I slept right through it. I mean, seriously, I was so excited. Hey, there's a storm coming. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time watching it go by. Slept right through the whole thing, except for one time when the electricity got cut off because of the storm. Hey, Dad! Yeah? The power out yet? Yes, son. I'm going to turn on the generator now. Okay, good night. Otherwise, I seriously don't remember any of it. To be very fair, I mean, I remember getting some of my stuff away from my my place that I was at for a little bit. It was like a shack, and then moving it into the house, and then having to deal with FEMA and all that good old trashy stuff. Grand, lovely, isn't it? Generally speaking, it was a tremendously unimportant experience for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. FEMA was okay, but I wasn't like, sure. Okay. Right. But yeah, things happened. Everything ended up working okay. I still was alive, and well, there you go. Now, the third thing I have on my mind right now, specifically, is it's baseball season. As you know, if you actually went back a few days ago and watched the Astros fan rant, I've said it then, I'll say it now. They cheated. They got caught. I'm not being stupidly blind to that fact. Some people are in another subject. We'll get to that again later. But basically, I'm excited that we actually have sports again. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I can't actually go to the games. I live in San Antonio. It's a 4 hour drive down to Houston and back. Try to do that at a 7:05 first pitch is just not possible. I'd love to go to the Astros game sometime soon, but I don't have enough time. I don't have time to go out and like, cool. I can sit down and enjoy it. But generally speaking, of course, I'm just excited to see baseball season. Of course, the Astros won last night. They're playing the Mariners. By the way, as far as I remember, that's the 14th straight game in a row the Astros beat the Mariners on. That's pretty big. And again, the Mariners have not been that great for the better part of I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, by the way, anyone play Gloom, the card game? I got this from Pack South from the good people at Form Brain Games. Foam Brain Games. Again, I'm autistic, but nice card. It's just an easy make 2 free plays, then discard the rest of your hand kind of deal. That's actually kind of cool. I'm like, how make 2 free plays? You have to start I believe, every turn with 5 cards. So this can be either great or devastating if you have something really worthwhile. Put that away. But speaking of Pack South, it was okay gaming con. Again, like I said in my review, if you know what you're getting into, very good card. And this is from, I believe, the board game Ishtar. This pen here that I haven't really found a use for. I don't collect pens. I collect more badges, lanyards, stuff like that. I have in front of me my Dragon Con badge from last year. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year. As you know, it's going virtual. But generally speaking, I do a lot of things with gaming, and that was one of the things I did this year. It might be the only convention I go to this year. We'll talk about that in a moment. But in general, it just felt like this year, a lot of cons have canceled for, okay, the virus happened, but they're making the virus as a part excuse. E3, the most notable. Sony, I don't know what the hell Sony's doing. Anybody know what Sony's doing? I'd like to know, because that was going to go down, I think, no matter what. And the virus just increased the odds of that happening. So generally speaking, it doesn't make any sense to me that some of these cons are using the virus as the excuse rather than as the reason. Now, Onicon, what I believe decided to pull the trigger on their year a little bit too early. It's in Halloween weekend. And of course, everything I'm gearing up to usually is for Onicon. It was going to be my 15th year of convention and my anniversary coming up, and I won't be able to do that, sadly. But I think they pulled the trigger a little bit too soon. I mean, virus is still going around, but the lethality rate is starting to drop massively. And it doesn't look like it's a seasonal kind of thing, to be fair. It looks like it's a massive worldwide kind of issue. I want to say something. Everyone who's knocking on everybody else, look at Brazil. Oh my goodness, what is going on down there? They have less, I believe, population overall in the United States. I believe their amount of cases, total cases, is right now half of what the United States is in total. I don't mean as a rate per capita, half of it. So it's like 4 million and then it's 2 million. I think Brazil, I don't know the exact terms. I'm going to look this up real quick, but I think Brazil has a population about okay. So they don't, so I'm not totally right on that. Brazil doesn't have half the population. It's 2.9 million as of 2018. So they still have a higher infection rate per capita, but it's about 1.5, not double that of the United States. That's still not good because the United States has 33 million people. And so Brazil's even right now, it just exploded. It wasn't just, hey, you know what? We're testing this and testing that. No, something happened in Brazil. It just went over the last 2 or 3 months. USA, of course, anyone can make a statement about that. But when it comes to Brazil, I'm worried about that because right now they're looking pretty bad themselves. 1% of their population, 1% of our population has gotten this virus. I mean, it's not as deadly overall to us, I think, than it is for a lot of people. But in the terms of what we're seeing, this is really bad. And I hope Brazil, if you're watching from Brazil, there was one person who came from Brazil and actually looked at one of my streams before. Thank you very much. I hope you understand this is pretty bad news. I'm hoping that you guys feel better. I hope you guys get things going in the right direction. I think the United States is kind of trying to do that more. I think it's really more the states becoming an issue. And okay, yeah, here we are. Here's Hurricane Hana heading for Corpus Christi. Now, okay, that looks like a pretty good center of circulation. This was 5 hours ago. It should be coming close to making landfall now. Ooh, 5 hours ago. And if the trek, if I'm seeing the trek, it's going toward the west. If I see the trek, we're going to get the outer bands in San Antonio, but we're not going to get any part of the main storm. Gosh, that eye does look pretty good. It's not the super most impressive. It's not as tight as I would not want to see it. But in general terms, it's probably, if it hasn't made landfall yet, it's going to within the next few minutes. Yeah, it looks like it's made landfall by now. I don't know exactly where, but yeah, South Texas, Corpus Christi area. That looks bad. There's really not many updates. Last Twitter updates were 5 hours ago. Let me go ahead and do the Google thing for a moment because that's really not looking good. That looks really like it could be used some more information on that, folks. So let me go ahead and take a look at it and see what I can see because that's, yeah, all this is hours ago. Okay, so there is a update that happened 50 minutes ago, and it looks like has it made landfall? Has it not yet? Yeah, it looks like that it has indeed gotten to make some kind of landfall within, I guess, the last hour. So it has hit officially on the shores of Corpus Christi. It's going to be a very tough one because, again, this one doesn't seem so bad as Ike was, but again, it's a hurricane. Like I said, don't take it for granted. So yeah, be very careful what you do with these things, folks. And also, when it comes to hurricanes, you have to understand that these things are big storms. These things aren't just going to hit one particular spot. That's why Harvey was so terrible, because it landed in South Texas on the coast toward, I believe the place was Rockport, Texas, and it just hovered over Houston for days on end. I remember Tropical Storm Allison. And Allison, it hit the first time on a Wednesday, and it at first seemed like it was gone. We didn't have to worry about it. And then it somehow pulled itself back, and it stayed back again on Friday and Saturday, and nobody was expecting it to just stay and stay and stay. And that's exactly what it did. That's what Harvey did. It was just the storm was there, and it kept sticking around for all of, oh my gosh, this is just too long. So Yeah, I hope this isn't the same case. The forecast has it going into Mexico over the next few days. And again, I'm not criticizing everything in terms of the virus, but they're making it out to be, oh, well, this is hitting a hot spot. It could have hit. We had a tropical storm hit, I think, New Jersey the last few weeks. So these things happen, folks, and it can be randomly. It just happens to be right here, right there. So you need to be really careful about exactly where these storms go to, because these things are not things you can just play around and mess with. And for me, even though I slept through Ike, I knew it wasn't going to be that big of a deal for me because we were inland pretty good. From Galveston, Houston's about 45 miles inland, and we don't get as much of a storm surge. I mean, it was still a hurricane by the time it hit over us. We got almost right on top of it from where we were actually at the time. It went through Galveston and went kind of to the east side of Houston in this suburb area called Pasadena, not California, Texas, by the way. And we live kind of like on, at the time, we lived where you were kind of in between Hobby Airport and that Pasadena area. If you know anything about Houston, Hobby Airport's on the south side, like almost the compass south, cardinal direction of all the city. You'll find Hobby Airport, and we're just a little bit to the east of that. Um, if you know the city pretty well, we're close to I-45, and Houston Hobby is just like right off of that. And so we're pretty much, you could pretty much say, along that line of I-45, at that point was where we were on the western side of the storm, almost overhead. In fact, would be the eye. So we were in a spot that wasn't quote unquote the bad side per se, but we were still really tight to the eye itself. We might have been directly under the eye. I don't know. But in general terms, we were really close to it, and it passed right over us. So this thing can happen that it goes a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and you still get hurricane force winds. I don't know how far out the hurricane force winds on this go, but I assume it's the core itself, the general area of the eye, probably has about hurricane force winds and maybe a little bit weaker about 5 miles away. I don't think this is, I don't know, but I don't think it's that big of a wind core. But these things are very strong winds. These things are winds that you're going to be seeing hit you pretty hard all the way through until you get past the other side of the eye for the most part. I believe also there's a hurricane closing in on Hawaii. Also, I don't know how far off that is from being able to get close to Hawaii, but I know it's coming closer in the Pacific. I mean, Pacific also has hurricanes. They're not as frequently hitting mainland because the Pacific Ocean is big, to be very blunt, but they still come around and still hit people from time to time. I remember Hurricane Kiki. When it hit, it was big news because it's extremely hard to see a hurricane hit Hawaii, and yet it did. I think that was 1993, if I remember correctly. I can't remember offhand. But that was a pretty big event because, hey, they're not used to seeing hurricanes in Hawaii. They're used to volcanoes. What are you guys in Hawaii used to seeing? I mean, I don't know. Oh, that reminds me. There was a dark irony. Can't remember if it hit somewhere in mainland Japan, but there was a cyclone Usagi. Sailor Moon reference, people. Oh, you bad bunny, get away from that country. Yes, I know a little bit of Japanese. Not enough to carry a conversation, but enough to know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, watch a bunch of anime, learn Japanese. I don't get enough phonetically in an anime sense to know what they're speaking. I have no idea. Possible that it's becoming a dead language too. I don't know, but I mean, they focus a lot on speaking English in Japan, so you keep that in mind. So, what else can I come up with the next few minutes here? First and foremost, um, things for me have been tough, mainly because I got sick over the course of the last few weeks. You wonder why my videos are shorter and slower. Mainly because I haven't had very much to talk about. And then I got sick. I had to get a tooth extraction last month. And yeah, that was actually not as painful as it was the last time because I actually found people who knew how to not make it hurt like a buzzsaw ran through my mouth for a good part of 2 months. Yeah, that's how it was the last time. It just came through. They gave me the worst kind of pills I could ever imagine. And then this time around, I got a different dentist and they gave me some of the great meds. I don't know what kind of meds you want to call them, but I don't recommend people do drugs typically, but for the agony that a tooth extraction had, this wasn't so bad. I was actually okay with what was going on. I felt like for the first time, it wasn't some buzzsaw going through my mouth and staying there. But this time, I actually felt like things were doing okay. Woohoo! Thank you very much for not making me feel like everything is going to cut through me like that. So, a much different feel. I didn't feel like it was such a painful and agonizing thing to happen to me. So that's good news. The bad news, of course, I still had to get a hole in my mouth. It's not fun to get your tooth extracted, folks. It really is not. But, it is what it is. You had to go and do it. You had to make sure it was all done and over with. And, oh gosh, with that kind of thing that happened, my most annoying part about having a tooth extraction is just the constant waiting for it to get out of my freaking skull. That's my biggest issue. I honestly never wanted a hole in my mouth so much than the pain that the teeth I had to take out had to be pulled. The first one, I knew it had to get rid of it. It had split in half. I tell this stories from my former roommates. You know what problem with that? I had to get a tooth pulled, and it split in half on a nacho. And I thought, what a way to go! Hey, it's a nacho. Woohoo! You can't go better than that. The second one, it had to go anyway. It wasn't as bad, but I felt like, nah, might as well get rid of it. And it took a little bit of time to get that done. I think it took a little bit longer because what the dentist said when they were getting rid of it was that it was really super close to a nerve of mine, and they thought they were going to hit that nerve, that it was going to be that close. They didn't want to get that last little bit, but they ended up not hitting the nerve. And they said, if your tongue and your mouth still feel bad after about 4 hours, they felt fine. You know, I was able to talk, eat, drink. I mean, I was numb to all the shots for a good hour and a half afterwards, maybe two. And that's probably what spared me the agony. It probably kept me from going totally insane. It's because again, they got me some good pills. I mean, I don't recommend taking drugs except for these kinds of things, but it actually did a good job making sure it wasn't agonizing. So I'm talking normally. I can taste food still. I don't have COVID anything. Again, I had to get out because of that. I was sick, but it wasn't virus related, thank goodness. And so everything went on with almost out without a hitch. I still had some other things I had to deal with, but at the very least, it was a good extraction. And I think everything's fine now. So, um, basically, I'm glad that all the little issues that I was having before have been pretty much figured out, except for, unfortunately, because I couldn't work for a while, I had 2 weeks where I didn't have any money, and I had to call in the group of people who do all the like backtracking and analyzing if you were sick or not. I had to get that long term. I need money, and so they said, "Okay, we approve it, and we'll go ahead and send you the money." It hasn't come in yet. It hasn't come in yet, and even though I work part time, that's still a good amount of money. So I don't know when the next bill pay is going to be exactly, but I've gotten back to work. I'm back. I'm doing work now. I'm actually trying to gear up to go to see my family for Labor Day weekend. It was supposed to be when this money comes in, I'll have that finally figured out and I get put toward bills. But it was supposed to be I was going to go to Dragon Con, and of course it canceled and it went virtual. But I still figured, you know what? I'm going to go over in that direction anyway. I might as well see my family in Mississippi. Why the hey not? Doesn't hurt me to go out there and say hello, guys. How you been doing? So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to spend some time in Biloxi because I haven't been there. And God, it was when my grandmother on my mother's side passed away. For when we went to her funeral, I think that was early 2003. And I wanted to play the DDR machine at one of the casinos, arcades. I just didn't get to change clothes in time. I knew we were going to come down here, Dad. I just didn't change clothes. And so I couldn't play it. I wanted to actually try it out. I ended up trying it around 2004 anyway at the arcade I used to work at in Houston. So it ended up pretty good. I'm still a standard player. I know that. I'm still, even though I'm in my mid 30s, I still can play standard. So I've never really got to heavy. Maybe I should try to get to heavy one of these days, but I just want to do other things. I was always into Capcom versus SK2. There are 15 other arcades I was good at. I didn't need to be in DDR per se. So it worked out for me because I'm still at that level, even though I'm fatter than I was, say, 15 years ago. So I'm going back to Biloxi to see what's gone on. It's going to be my vacation time, so I'm not going to be able to do very much up at that point. It's going to be 2 weeks. I'm going to be away, but it's going to be 2 weeks I need because, again, I don't know when the next time I'm going to see my family is. I wasn't even supposed to go to Dragon Con this year. Just everybody wanted to go even before the virus hit. And then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to go even before the virus hit. So I'm like, no, okay. Next time, I'm just going to do it myself. I fine, cool, whatever. You want to go, you can go. But everybody wanted me to pick up for them. Nobody wanted to put in any time for it. So, okay. I'll find something. I'll do something else next year. So with that being said, there is only one little announcement I have to make. Unfortunately, I can't make it on YouTube. So I'm thinking of doing some different things. And again, I want to get that virtual convention video done. I can't do it this week. I've got a lot of actual work I'm trying to get done so I can go see my family. But it will come out sooner or later. And yet again, how do I address Silverville anymore? I can't understand how bad this is getting. I've heard a little bit of here and there hearsay about other things. I've had at least one confirmation that a moderator for both Silverville and Project Melody has been attacking other VTubers in some places, but that is neither here or there. I'll get to that on the video. I'll try to get that done sometime next weekend. Probably will do it before the VCon thing. I'm still working on that because I want to actually see what the VCon is like before I make that video. I think I'll make that around time of Dragon Con, actually, because Dragon Con has always had something similar with its Dragon Con TV that if you can't be there, you just pay a certain amount of money. I want to see how that goes off. And you go on this YouTube or streaming site and you can watch it there. So I want to see how that works compared to what it was in in-person convention. So it will take a little time. I think I'll do it then when I actually compare them. I have a good amount of notes, but I want to see how it goes off. So I'll do that around then and we'll figure that out as that comes along. But until I get these videos done, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, donate to my PayPal at plasmawarrior2002@gmail.com. Again, unfortunately, because the conventions across the world are closing, I can't tell you when my next con is. I would have loved it to be OniCon at the very least, but that's not going to happen. I mean, I'll see about that. Maybe it's going to be a small event. But until we see each other next time, later.